Welcome to Gate Radio. I'm Carrie.
I'm Will.
And we're here to help you level the playing field of college admissions.
We cover
grades,
applications,
test prep tips,
and essays. This podcast shares the expertise of dozens of professional educators with years of experience.
Don't go crazy, don't go broke, go Gate!
Let's begin. Today we are talking about one of the strangely hardest things in the college prep application process, which is taking a school off of your application list to get it to that final 10 or 12.
It is surprising how difficult this is. It's like students want to hang on to all the different schools and all the different options and just have options and options and options.
Well,
right?
Think about any time you have to make choices.
Right.
Like picking what restaurant you're going to eat at when you go out to eat can often be really, especially if you do it with a group.
It can be really stressful. Yeah.
And that's one night, not 4 years and determining what you're going to do for life. And so I don't want to minimize how hard the choices are, because on the little things that don't matter, even if you have a bad experience, food poisoning, it's over in a weekend, hopefully. I've had some bad experiences.
Let's not choose restaurants that have low Yelp ratings. Well, let's look at the Yelp ratings before we choose our restaurants.
Well, yes.
Let's not advise people to just make a choice.
But when you're thinking of something as big as college, where will I go to college?
Yeah.
That often has that thing of, I can't get rid of a choice. I don't want to make that.
It's like this fear of getting rid of. It's like cleaning old clothes out of your closet and hanging on to that one pair of jeans from 2008 that you know doesn't fit anymore, but you still want to keep it because it has sentimental value, because whatever, I don't know.
I was thinking that T-shirt that you got at a concert years ago and you don't like the band anymore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really fit you, but you're like, but I did remember that when I was there.
I'm not cool enough to go to concerts, so I don't know. Do you do concerts? I'm not a big concert person.
Sometimes, but I don't actually buy T-shirts anymore.
Oh, no?
That's why I was like, it's an old thing. I don't do it anymore.
Back in the golden days.
But so in order to, and again, this isn't how you're choosing the school you will go to. This is finding that application list that is manageable, that you can actually apply to all the schools.
And not being afraid to eliminate the ones that definitely don't work for you.
Yeah, and so, the three things you can do is you can prioritize.
Three key tips.
Is prioritize, categorize, and focus on the environment.
Right.
And that both means recycle, but also what's
the
around
actual, the where you're going to live, what it's going to be like day to day.
Yes.
Outside of just the things like statistics, like classroom size and things like that. But we'll get to that in a minute.
But first, you need to prioritize what you want from college.
Mm-hmm.
What I find a lot of students doing, and I have seen this with so many of our students just this year, is that they'll say, well, but I could want to study this, or maybe I do want to have this other thing.
Or my parents really think that this is good. And it's good to listen to your parents' input. We encourage that. Listen to your parents' input. But sometimes there's a whole laundry list of schools that mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, guidance counselor, all these people suggested, and it's overwhelm.
And so then the list ends up being 25 schools.
Right.
And a lot of times you can just look at it and say, why is this school on my list? And
honestly, why is it? Is it because such and such told me to put it on the list?
Exactly. You might say, I really want to go there because they have this program and they do this and whatever good, exciting reason. The point isn't why, it's that you're excited.
Or this school's on my list. I don't know anything about it. Let me read about it.
Maybe you'll realize it is not for you at all. Easy way to get rid of it.
Right.
But my actual best strategy here, what I think students should always do, is create a tiered ranking. You don't have to make this a ranking of schools 1 through 12, or really, again, it's 1 through 20 a lot of times at this point, and says, my number one school is this, so what does it makes it better than 2? But you say, I have 3 schools I'm really excited about.
And Will, is this pie in the sky? Is this all sort of statistical information aside? If I could go anywhere, dream school, despite my grades, despite my SAT, ACT score, what is that?
This ranking is entirely based on feeling.
Okay.
Other things will come in because this is the best way. I had a student that I was working with going through GATE, and I said, use these tiers, 20 schools. She ended up with a 4th tier. She's like, I don't like these. I said,
So
wait,
when
what
you
do you
say
mean you don't like
tiers,
these?
when you say tiers, do you mean do you have like categories of ranking that?
Yeah, and
you
it's
suggest?
just simply saying tier 1 is I'm excited.
Okay.
Tier 2 is I like this school. I could see myself going there. It would be really good. Tier 3, and I usually think of 3 tiers because that's how it usually shakes out. A third tier would be this has reasons for it. I want to study engineering. They have a good engineering program. They're in a place I want to be. But I'm not as excited about, like, this is sort of like if I don't get into any other schools, I would be perfectly happy here, but I'm not thrilled.
And a great question to ask yourself is, if I got accepted to this school tomorrow, how would I feel? Would I be super jazzed and call and order a sweatshirt and a hat and a flag and decorate my room? Or would I...
That would be in tier 1, by the way.
That would be in tier 1. That would be in tier 1. Decorating your room.
And then I would say tier 2, when you answer that question, becomes, oh, that would be really good. I could really enjoy myself.
Yeah. I'd
But
like
it's
to
not
go
the,
and
ooh, I need a sweatshirt now.
and I'd like to go visit if I haven't visited and really explore. I'd love to talk to some alumni, that type of thing.
And I think
right?
tier 3 becomes, I mean, what's really it's good, this is on my list. Which gets to the next point, categorize.
Wait, I want to actually speak to that, though, because there is something to getting accepted to a college, any college, and that's sort of when we talk about, safety schools and things like that. There's some kind of security and safety in knowing that you've gotten in somewhere. It's a bit of a stress reliever, and we talked about stress on a different episode. But, it's okay to apply to schools that you're not super jazzed 100% about, just to have that sort of feeling. I think. What do you think?
Also, particularly if you have used the entire GATE system to improve your grades and your test scores and your applications are perfect.
Not a shameless plug.
No, never. But if you can look at things and you know that there will be multiple schools you are likely to get into, what is often known as a safety school. But a lot of times you'll hear safety and think, okay, my SAT score is 300 points higher than their 75th percentile score. I am way above it. I am out there. Their average GPA is a 3.2 and I have a 4.1. It's like, that's not a safety. That's something else way below.
Right.
And if you have 3 or 4 schools that you have pretty good, that you fit those targets really well, I would think of those as likely schools. And sometimes the balance works out that you have 4 schools you really like that are also likely for you to get into.
Okay.
And you don't need I'm just holding on to this.
Right. And
because your odds will work out.
And so I'm just holding on to this, would that be tier 4? Would that be sort of...
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes it's really tier 6 if you did it all. They just kept it there.
So how many tiers can we go into?
I think you need 3.
3?
And
anything beyond 3 is bye-bye?
Yeah, because normally the way, unless you have some very weird, like your top tier is 2 schools, your second tier is 2, then you have a huge pool otherwise.
What would you say would be a good number of schools to have on ye old list?
It depends on, for instance, here in California, the UC system, you can apply once. So if you have a number of UC schools where they all have it, you can say 4 or 5 is about the same amount of work as 1 or 2 applications
It's kind
elsewhere.
of like the Common App as well,
Yeah, and although I will say a lot of schools on the Common App have a supplemental essay component. So, you're writing the same essays for all of the UCs and a lot of other university systems. But just the physical work of going through more than about 12 at a high end. And I would say that's if you really are in a lot of places. I've worked
12
very
being
closely.
1 application for the UC, or, right? That would count as one
And
of
also,
the 12, and that might apply to like 4 to 5 colleges at once.
I've worked very closely with a student who did music and is now at Berklee College of Music. Humble brag. I did that with him. No, he did it. But his balance of what he wanted was different because he didn't want a traditional conservatory, but he wanted to study music. So we had to create a list that was different and went in different ways.
And that application process is wildly different, too. It involves portfolios and recordings and videos.
But if you have a lot of large research universities on your list in sort of a geographic area, those are all going to be hard to kind of – you're not building a list so much as you're cutting down. And that's where you can start to think about first, like, well, let me have some that I feel pretty good I'm going to get into. And then think about that environment.
Oh, wait, are we talking about, let's go back. Let's back up. So I just want to be clear on this for me. So there's we want to keep the list to 12-ish applications that we put out.
Hope for 10.
Hope
12
for 10
is the max.
That's total applications that we're doing, including the all-encompassing UC app, right, if you're in California. Okay, and then the Common App would be mindful, of course, of the supplementary questions. And then we're categorizing, that's our second tip, categorizing into 3 different categories.
I know that there are reach schools that you might not, but if you're excited about a school and you don't think it's likely, give it a shot. If you really want to go there, give it a shot.
And find an angle. You know what I mean? Do your research.
Exactly. And it's devastating when you get rejected from a school you like, but
it's better to try. It's better to try and apply.
It's absolutely better to try. And if you find those other schools you're likely to get into or more target zones, you can say, I'm going to have a good college experience anyway.
Also, just fun memory. I got waitlisted at Harvard. And to get off the waitlist at Harvard is virtually impossible. I mean, nobody says no to Harvard, right? But I actually kept and put in a scrapbook the letter from Harvard saying that I was waitlisted, right? And it was a nice little hey, a little moment for myself. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't get in, it's a nice thing to do, and it was nice to know that I was considered.
And
do you know
did
what
not
I mean?
getting into Harvard ruin your college experience?
No, it didn't. I had a great college experience.
And thinking about the college experience is maybe the most effective way to know whether you're excited about a school. So what we've talked about so far is sort of the way to practically think about it. But now we get into maybe a bit squishier territory.
So so target, and then we have our target as our definites that we match with, our reach, something a little bit beyond.
A little bit beyond.
Super excited about, and then the likely is
you're
you
a
like
little
that,
bit ahead of.
So that's a little bit more than safety, likely is.
Yeah, because it's where you are ahead of that. And so don't have one likely school, a few target, and a bunch of reach.
Right. Evenly distribute the schools across these 3 categories.
1 or 2 reach at most, but also because you want to have a number of schools you really hit that zone with.
And I say you can throw in a safety. I say, because it's just...
There's no harm, but if you're not excited...
It's more of a psychological thing.
Yeah.
It's more of a psychological thing than anything. Just to have that one straight up, I got in. Do you know what I mean? Just to have that there. I know it's work and effort. But some of the applications for schools that would be your safety school anyway are a lot simpler. So, yeah, I like to throw one in.
Yeah, and that also speaks to sometimes you want to say, this is a lot more work to add this.
Yeah.
So if it's a school that's kind of maybe reaching a touch and you're not super into it, I've actually seen students say in December, I want to get this off my list because I don't want to put the effort in to go to the school that I'm not excited about because they're thinking more and more about what college will be for them.
I remember this happened with Brown's college application. It's been a while, but I went to apply and their application process was intensive. I mean, it was hours and hours of essays. And I thought about it and I was like, I don't actually really want to go to Brown. They don't have what I want to do.
This doesn't match up with me.
Yes, I took it off the list sheer by my teenage kind of slight laziness, not wanting to do it, but also because it made me realize that I didn't want to go there.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Most likely that school that's in that top tier, if it's really involved, you're like, okay, I've got to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Versus I have to do all this stuff. Or I have to.
Yeah.
Those
that's
are
not
good
a good
reactions
sign.
Because
yeah,
you do need to think about that school environment. What are you going to be doing in your classes?
Right.
Who are you going to be eating dinner with?
So this is our third key tip. It's thinking about the overall environment.
And I think in a way this is important, but you need the sort of structure of how to prioritize things, of categorizing them.
So
before you really start dealing with this, because it's not, the environment meaning everyone got this on their SAT.
Right. And it's actual environment, actual literal physical weather. We're here in Southern California. We have a lot of students that are used to Southern California weather. And it comes application season and they're saying, I'm thinking about going to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor or the Syracuse University. And I'm like, these places.
It gets cold in these places.
I mean, which is fine if you're prepared for that.
But that's a real thing. And
yeah.
I also know the opposite. People say, I've never experienced a winter in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to have the responsibility of plowing anything. So, yeah,
But
I'll go to school in a cold place.
Here's another Dartmouth. Didn't apply there. Too cold. Do you know what I mean? I knew it was going to be like horrific.
Well, and if you have visited schools, you can think back on it.
Yeah.
But if you are about to visit schools, the best way to do this is simply to walk into the dining hall and go, do I want to eat dinner with these people? Do I want to have lunch with them?
Well, you should probably sit down and talk to some people first, right? I mean, get
Well,
the overall
yes.
vibe, but meet a few people.
But you will be able to see that, and it's a simple question, and it seems shallow. No one wants to make a college choice on who do I want to be around, but that's the most important aspect of your college experience in a way.
I actually think it's feeling based too. How do I feel on this campus? Do I feel at home? And sometimes I encourage some of our students when they're going to do their college tours to take a little journal and take notes. How do I feel? Does this feel like a place that I could live for 4 years? Does it?
And as a former college admission counselor, the worst feeling was a kid that I thought was perfect for the school. I was like, yeah. I just go, it's not quite there.
When you met the kid in person after
Exactly.
So the application looked awesome, and then you met the
And they would be
student in
just
person.
saying, or even just I met them when they visited, or I had interviewed them and they came to visit. And it's really frustrating as an admission counselor to say, but I think you would. On the other hand, there's always a thought in the back of the head. These are the people who transfer because they go to a school that they aren't that great about.
They don't feel at home there.
And they want to find home later. And lots of people have great experiences having transferred, but we kind of want you to find that school you really love first.
Yeah. And by the way, we don't encourage you to transfer, obviously, but if you get to a school and after some time there you realize that it's just not the fit for you, there is always the option to transfer.
Again,
but don't set yourself up for that.
Right.
But there's no shame in that if your gut instinct was wrong. Do you know what I mean? And you arrive there.
But just imagine having to fill out all these applications
but then you have to do it one more time. So train. And also there's something to set the friends that you make. I think the friends that you make your freshman year, the people you live with on your dormitory hall, some of those people become your lifelong friends. Those are the people that you bond with. And you can't, if you transfer, because I did transfer, you can't really redo that freshman year experience. The friends that I met my freshman year of college are still my friends. It's because it's a special time. And you want to, if you can, if you're going to a 4-year university, take that journey all 4 years with those people that you bond with.
And you might be saying, I have no idea the kind of people I'd bond with. I don't. Actually, I would argue you do when you're in high school. Think about the people you like to be around in high school and the people you don't like to be around. But focus on the people you like to be around first.
Or also, I'd like to add, I know one student who is at a very small private high school and is super sort of keen to get to a big university setting where she can start over and kind of reinvent her social life. So there's that option for you as well to kind of redefine your social community if you feel sort of trapped in a smaller high school environment.
Yeah, and I always say think about the people you've enjoyed being around in high school who have already graduated. Think about where they went to school.
That's good.
If those kinds of people are at that kind of school, that's a kind of school you want to be at. It's a very reductive, simple thing, but it's one a lot of students don't think about. And also, if there are those people that you haven't enjoyed being around and they went to a certain kind of school, there's an opportunity.
And also,
but love everybody.
And I just speaking to that, as somebody who's from a small town where people sort of went regionally and locally to university, I was sort of one of the outliers that went away. You do want to look also beyond where people from your school went. Also think outside the box and think about what it is that you really want in terms of things as simple as environment. What kind of political environment are you interested in if you're interested in politics at all? Are you interested in being people who are more politically liberal, conservative? Think about regions of the country that might play into that.
There's
right?
a level that reminded me of that it's about the environment of politics. Maybe you don't want to study theater or the performing arts, but you want to go somewhere where there will be interesting theater productions done by students.
Right.
These are all the little things that you can think about.
You want there to be some kind of artistic community or something. And maybe you're into sports and ACC and football and go team. So you want to go to one of those big kind of universities that have those cohesive sporting events versus a city school where things are divided up into different buildings across city blocks. It's just a whole different experience.
But none of these are things that you can quantify that easily.
No,
the
it's
way
all
that
qualitative.
You can with SAT scores and GPA. And so when you're thinking about how do I get from 25 to 10, and especially 15 down to 10 schools, you need to think really hard about, is this the kind of environment I want to be in?
Yeah, and I think city versus campus is a big one. Huge. I mean, NYU versus Vanderbilt. Actually, Vanderbilt's in a city,
but it's a campus.
And it's a campus. That's actually a good hybrid. That wasn't a good example. So NYU versus
Syracuse is
University
town.
of Florida, for example.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
A college town is different than being in a city, is different than being in a suburban area. It's different than being on a rural campus.
Right.
And you know yourself best about what you would like.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe you don't, and you need to explore a little bit and go on a mini college tour and
but
visit
still
some places.
Trust yourself.
Yeah.
If you aren't certain that when you think about it, you know what's best for yourself.
Right.
Maybe have a check with your parents because they also know you really well, and if they're like, you will absolutely hate that, and give you good evidence why, listen to that.
But always go with your gut instinct.
Because we're not talking about finding that final school. We're talking about you have to get rid of certain schools.
Yeah.
And that's the key takeaway, that this is not about...
We're just narrowing the list down to 10 to 12.
Oh, yes. And to do that, you've got to make those hard choices. And the way to do that, prioritize.
Categorize.
And focus on that environment.
Awesome. I love it.
And so then you will now just be ready to do all those applications.
And they will be exciting.
But that's for another episode.
And you will schedule in time for them and get them done early. Right, guys and gals? Yes.
But we will see you on December 31st. Gate Radio, recorded in Studio City, California, is committed to equalizing access to college for teens like you.
Visit us online at gatecollegesystem.com and opt in to receive our weekly newsletter with free information on the college prep process.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Gate College System YouTube channel.
And like us on Facebook.
Tweet us on Twitter.
Instagram, Pinterest.
That's enough for now.